Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. So let's begin here, and Swamiji is going to touch the subject of the stagnant mind, and then we can try to elaborate some reasoning. One should awaken the mind in drowsiness. One should quiet the mind, the distracted mind repeatedly. One should know the mind in that intermediary state, which is the one that the stagnant present as a stagnant mind. And saying that, know that if the mind is in that state, it does not mean that the mind has no desire. The mind is keeping its desires latently. You know, they are all latent desires, they are there, but the mind is a little bit flat. But it is different from a tamasic mind, because the tamasic mind just falls asleep very quickly in meditation, you know. So one may make a confusion that the mind in this kind of intermediary state, which is a kind of, the mind is just a little bit flat or suppressed. The desires are still there. They are suppressed somehow, desires and fears, due to, more often than not, to my understanding, is that more often than not, because those are very difficult energies that were somehow buried within the basement of the mind, because at the time we did not know how to cope with. You understand? So we have some experience in childhood and even later on that they are so powerful and devastating that we don't have either time or the ability to deal with those events, and we bear those things in the subconscious mind. And then once we go into the practice of Vipassana, so we may find that the mind is not falling asleep, which is an indication of too much tamaguna. The mind is not going all over the place because it's too rajasic, but the mind is flat, you know, not falling asleep, but flat. It's just suppressed. The mind is suppressed, okay? So some drugs that I experienced when I was young and stupid gave me a hint later on what it is to have a mind which is suppressed. So a suppressed mind is a mind that's not presenting feelings and emotions, because feelings and emotions can be very good, very high, or can be very negative and traumatic. So you can suppress the mind, and one of these drugs that are known all over the world as an emotional suppressor is cannabis. Cannabis is an emotional suppressor. So if the mind is emotionally suppressed without needing any external substance, it means that she's protecting itself, because there are certain emotions that were buried before that are very powerful. And the Swami Paramarthananda here, he's going to be suggesting that each one of us have to deal with that kind of obstacle. It's difficult to say what to do, but the general consensus is that we need to ask the mind to allow whatsoever is there to come to surface, because it needs to be released. You understand? It needs to be released. So when I had that experience that you guys heard me describing of being tortured somewhere, and I went to see a friend of mine who was a kind of a famous therapist in the ashram. And he said, that's wonderful. This was a very good emotional release. You understand? So those energies have to come out of the unconscious mind. So let's see what Swami Ji says. So the distinction is that some tamaguna is going to make us fall asleep. Rajoguna is going to make the mind wander all over the place. And this other obstacle is suppressed energies that somehow makes the mind flat, okay, flat, suppressed. Like there is no bliss, but there is no mental activity like a rajasic mind, and one should not confuse. Oh, there is no activity, you know. Because the people who still plays with marijuana may think like, oh, it's my mind is so quiet, but it's a dead quietness. You understand? Have you ever tried that, Mark?
What, marijuana?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of times.
Yeah.
I found that it does the opposite for my mind. It stimulates it too much, so I can't quieten it down.
Yeah, it does. It does a little bit of both. Okay, it does a little bit of both.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it stimulates, but then later on, the mind becomes kind of flat.
Yeah, that's right.
Without feeling, you know, and
yeah,
the energy goes to the mental process in the beginning, a lot of insights, and then later on, and the emotional aspect of that mental activity is not present. So it's important to know that each one of us has to understand that there are some unresolved energies or issues buried in the subconscious mind, producing that kind of state, which is a state not fit for Vipassana and much less for Nididhyasana. So he presents these three obstacles, and then he says in that one should not disturb the mind when it's tranquil, alert, and in other words, sattvic. When the mind is clear, alert, you know, without desires, without any dumbness, okay, of Rajoguna or sleepiness, and when it's not either in the intermediary state, you know, of being totally flat. So you have a perfect state of mind. When they say, hey, I got it, my mind is really contemplative, alert, sattvic, and so on. And then we have to remember when we get to that, don't say like, okay, I accomplished it. Now I can disturb my mind. I can think about, you know, telling other people that my meditation became very deep. Anything, any thoughts, you know? Oh, nice. Oh, that's good enough. Okay, let's allow the mind now. Let's steer thoughts in this mind. So don't disturb the mind once you have accomplished a contemplative mind. Why? Because even if you withdraw the mind from the objects of the world for a time, the mind will tend to start contacting, wandering again, you know? So therefore, we need to be very careful, you know, not to disturb the mind once the mind is somehow under your control, you know, or it's just there, not wandering and not falling asleep, and enjoying the bliss, the satisfaction, the peace of that state. So it's a sattvic state. It's always permeated by a good, nice feeling. And that is the other obstacle. Don't get caught up to attached to the good feeling of that state. So the withdrawal is done repeatedly every time the mind starts wandering again. When the mind does, you need to do something to wake up the mind. So nowadays we don't use any more match. So you get a matchstick and then you just hold your eyes open like that with matchsticks. Never heard of that, Lynn? No. I used to stand up I was so exhausted, working so hard in the ashram and this and that, and then I had to meditate at certain time, and then I used to stand up, not to fall asleep. It's dangerous because if you fall, the drop is higher and not dangerous. So we need to, when the mind tends to doze, you must wake up the mind. Gaudapada does not say how you're going to do to wake up the mind. We have to find what works for us. Avoid the cause for drowning. What we can do? Oh, it's my mind is falling asleep or napping because I had a larger meal, or because I'm living a life so rajasic during the day that my body becomes tamasic in the night and I am exhausted, and then not sleeping well and eating improper meals. That is making my mind, fall asleep in meditation, tired, tamasic, and rajasic states of mind should be avoided for meditation. So how are you going to avoid the rajasic? The tamasic, we need to adjust here and there. The tamasic, the rajasic, we need to adjust our lifestyle. We have to create somehow a lifestyle which is not too active. Well, it's not too rajasic. Then lifestyle is very important to be looked upon, so that my mind is not too excited. And as we have seen before, we need to go through the previous sadhanas that prep the mind for meditation. And then if I have a rajasic lifestyle and a rajasic mental configuration, so we need to be a karma yoga so that I exhaust that rajoguna very actively in transforming those activities in my sadhana, offering my actions and accepting the results and never complain. And this, so I'm a rajasic. So I'm doing that. I'm just converting my day-to-day actions into sadhana. Yeah. So we have to do what we need to do to convert some of this rajoguna into sattva guna. Yeah. The third obstacle is hidden raga dvesha. This is very nice. What is that? It's hidden. That is a good pointer. It's hidden desires and aversions, traumas, big desires, big fears. Traumas. It's hidden raga dvesha that makes the mind stagnant. When the mind is stagnant, may you understand that it's due to some traumatic suffering from some life circumstance or problems in your life which were buried in the subconscious mind. So we see it all over the world, we see it. I have met some people that have a mind a little bit like that, and then they think that they are very high until they understand that they need to take care of first things first, see why your mind in this condition. You need to allow those suppressed traumas to come to the conscious mind. When the mind is quiet and not distracted by external disturbance, whatever is hidden inside will surface. So when the mind is quiet because you are not engaged, you are trying to make an effort to meditate, exactly how it happened to me. I went there. I came from a very, very rajasic and difficult environment. I was living and working in Hamburg, in Germany. And then I managed to find my way to the ashram in 1987. And then when I get there, I went from one environment, which is a lot of activity and stress, to another, which was meditation and darshans with the guru, and an environment of a lot of sattva guna. So when the mind finds a quiet environment and the mind itself becomes quiet, and it's no longer distracted by doing, interacting, acting, reacting. It's no longer distracted by external activities and distractions and disturbance. whatever is hidden inside of the subconscious mind may surface, may not surface. No? So the best thing is to invite it all to come up. Because when we go to meditate, we are creating our own, our own satsang, our own space of contemplation, and then certain things may come up. Thus, Kasaya will get convert to Vikshepa. So this energy of suppressed energy, hidden Vikshepa and Kasaya, these traumas have to be converted into Vikshepa. Unsuppressed and unprocessed Parabad must be manifesting as clear, unfolded Parabadam. Someone else that was hidden, something else, let me just read it small. Something unsuppressed and unprocessed karma. So I often, there was a time that I was putting more or less in these words, life is processing karma, processing vasanas, okay? So I come in, I find my parabada, and I respond according to my vasanas, and then I process my vasanas, I refine my vasanas, I am processing my karma, another way to put it, you understand? So, and a lot of this experience we have in life, we don't have either time nor capacity to really process the parabada, what happened, and put it to rest, like Ranji likes to say. So put it to rest is you processed it properly, okay? And now you are fine with it. Yesterday I had a very nice experience. Sylvia was there and she saw, I was there in her place and there was the owner there. He's very explosive. And then somehow he got me in a moment and he exploded towards me very heavily. And then I exploded back to him, okay? And then I had to look at that and say, oh my God, where is this reaction coming from? Just because he was aggressive towards me and unrespectful, I should not get, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. So what happened? So I was uncomfortable. And then I realized, okay, so I need to process this. And the first opportunity I had, I went to see him and I apologized deeply, and I cleared my karma with him. It was interesting because he looked at me after that. He said, oh, you're going to have karma with me in the future. Huh? You're going to have karma with me. And I thought, wow, that was very insightful. So I went back to him and I said, listen, I want you to know that I really appreciate you. I like you, and I had this reaction and I want to apologize. No, I hate to hurt people. Doesn't matter if the other hurts me, but the worst thing possible is to hurt the others because he is very much more gross than me. Then most probably he hurts everybody because he's yelling at everybody, but he does not realize he's hurting people. But if you realize you are hurting people, you need to process that, You need to go there and clear that karma, you understand? And you clear karma, apologizing, And then it was amazing because I passed by Sivas, I have to meet him, I have to talk to him. And then once I did that, I came back after 10 minutes, Sivas said, oh my God, now I feel so good. This is processing some conflicting karma rather than, pushing it under the carpet. But most of the time, people are not able and neither have even time to process parabada or experience in the day-to-day experience of life. And we push it under the carpet. And then all these unprocessed karma, unprocessed parabadas, they are not being digested, they are not being clear, they're not, what do they cause? I used to present this as karmic indigestion, okay? Karmic indigestion. You are not processing karma, you are suffering of indigestion. Indigestion goes into the subconscious mind, and then later on, it's going to be an obstacle to our spiritual growth. We cannot meditate if I'm suffering from karmic constipation, so to speak. Does it make sense?
The only thing is sometimes a response is appropriate. You know, that the field is asking you to correct something. And would you tell me how you feel about it internally? If it's just expressed and seems appropriate. It's like in the Gita, you know,
Well,
there had to be war.
yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I know that it was not a proper response to me because I was totally emotionally lost with my response. Another thing, you do it emotionally uninvolved. And another thing is to do it totally emotionally involved. So if I was acting out, you know, and then I would say, no karma, don't need to even though, even if I would be acting out, it would be appropriate to say, oh, by the way, so I was acting out, but I'm sorry if I did hurt you. No. Suppressed problems, suppressed karma, undigest, yeah, karma, unprocessed karma. These things surface when we go into deep meditation. So we need to bring it to the surface. If it is stagnate there, those conflicting karmas, those energies called kasyam, when it comes to surface, it's again parabhada, and it came up due to vikshepa, or Rajoguna brought it to the surface. That's what it means, this passage here. Hidden vikshepa is kasayam. So you have those energies, but they are suppressed. They say that there is a lot of gas under the ocean and under the soil of many areas of the planet that have been frozen and suppressed for centuries or millenniums, and now they are coming out. Okay, so if it is suppressed there, it needs to come out. Those energies, unsuppressed and unprocessed parabodhan of someone that was hidden, will come up in deep meditation once Kasyan has been converted in Vikshepa. The Vikshepa can be handled by whatsoever method will handle it. But if it's hidden, it can never be addressed. How are you going to handle something that is unconscious? You are unconscious about that because it's hidden. So we need to invite things to the conscious mind. Let it come, let it come. No, but it's hurting too much. Invite it to come more and more. Suffering in that sense is good. Okay, you are releasing energies which are painful. In this final part of this chapter 3, which is beautiful, is the one that, quite frankly, I like the most. The Gaudapada is discussing the important topic of Nididhyasana, naming it Mano Nigraha, disciplining, mastering the mind. This went on from several verses. This Nididhyasana is to be practiced by people who have gone through Shravana and Manana for a length of time, and after gaining doubtless self-knowledge, doubtless knowledge that they are the very self, the very Atma, which is free, and that the ego, the Ahamkara, is a disguise that they are putting on for the purpose of living in the material world. So only then we can do Nididhyasana when we really got this knowledge. I mean, we could say we can do Nididhyasana in an effective way, okay? Once we have no doubts and questions and suspicions, we don't have faith, we may think that there is a better way out there, some shortcuts, yeah? after getting this firm intellectual self-knowledge, intellectual conviction, and then nididhyasana is done for assimilation, and then assimilation is easy. There are two types of nididhyasana. One is Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana, and the other is Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana. So one is what? What Nididhyasana is the first one? It's like, okay, I don't have time to meditate profoundly in my meditation room. I have roles to play, I have activities to do. I have simplified my mind, my life, but still my karma does not allow me to take much time off. Okay, although I manage 50 minutes, 1 hour every day, I do my Samadhi Nididhyasana, which is sitting in your room, and then with your incense or whatever, your pictures, nice environment, and then you bring forth the teachings that have established your true identity nature as free, limitless conscious existence, and then you bring it, and then you keep, contemplating it until it is properly internalized. Intellectually, it is already a hard and fast knowledge. I have no doubts about that, but now I need to digest it, okay? I need to process it, internalize it, so that the self-knowledge may transform one's body, mind, sense complex and the way it behaves with the world. So what we have to do during our interaction, how we do that. So the best expression to describe it is, I think it was Swami Dayananda that once present Nididhyasana as application of self-knowledge. So you are interacting, and you are saying, okay, I'm Satya, everything is Mithya, okay, but I'm transacting with my Mithya nature as Jiva and so on, but in my true nature, I'm Satya, nothing can really affect me. So you keep that in the background of the mind. But then here and there, some bits and pieces of ignorance comes, and one identifies with one's thoughts, words, and deeds and actions, and then what you do, you just apply the knowledge to neutralize that identification, and you say, no, this is my jiva going about doing that, so I need to make this self-knowledge so firm in my conscious, my subconscious mind, so that I don't need to be doing this application of knowledge, which requires great vigilance while transacting. Why? Because the knowledge is properly established, and it has purified me in a certain way that I have this balance and strength in regards to adversities coming from the Dharma field. So there are two types. The other is very nice. It's samadhi meditation. You sit in your room, and then again, what are you going to do? You're going to just remember the teachings, and keep examining to see if there is still any obstacle between your intellectual knowledge and your direct aparoksha knowledge. You understand? So you keep doing that, remember the teaching, your nature, remember these final declarations of identity offered by the Upanishads. Remembering the teaching, we can do it more easily when we are sitting in our room. When we interact, it's more easy that we identify with our inferior nature. But what happens with most yanis who have internalized the teaching, one recovers right away, one finds the balance right away, back, you understand? So one requires separate time, the others you do it through bodily transactions. A person who can do these two nididhyasanas will gradually but surely assimilate and internalize self-knowledge. Those people that are able to assimilate the teaching this way will not require samadhi. So if you do it all through your day-to-day interactions, chances are you may not need to do the samadhi nididhyasana. But some people enjoy doing samadhi nididhyasana even after the self-knowledge was properly internalized. Why? Because they have a vasana for samadhi, and that has to be accepted and respected as well. You understand? I don't do samadhi not to gain anything, not to remove any piece of ignorance, because it feels good. It feels good. Better than watching Netflix. Some people may have that vasana rather than a Netflix vasana, have a samadhi vasana. It's not compulsory to do samadhi nididhyasana, but these samadhi nididhyasana are for people who are not able to derive the full benefit of self-knowledge, even after many years of Shravana and Manana. When Vedanta remains, then in this case, Vedanta has remained as academic self-knowledge only. This indicates that Brahma, Adhyasa, Rupa, Nididhyasana is not enough, and one needs to do a further effort by doing the Samadhi, Abhyasa, Rupa, Nididhyasana. It is possible to get Nishta, a firm, hard and fast and firm self-knowledge just by receiving the teachings and remembering the teachings here and there without doing much effort, neither by applying the knowledge during your day-to-day interaction, and much less with the need of doing samadhi nididhyasana. Some highly qualified people just hear the knowledge, receive the teachings, and they get it, and the teaching remains properly assimilated and internalized. But when the mind is not that pure, when the mind has several issues due to adverse paravada, adverse karma, the mind has issues, then just receiving the teachings is not enough, which is the case of most everyone. So most of us, we are not exception to the rule. We need to go through a long process of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. And then even that 5, 10, 15 years of Nididhyasana, both Nididhyasana, so that is the general case for most of us. When the mind is disturbed, the disturbed two teachings of Vedanta cannot be assimilated. When the mind is disturbed, this is nice. I'm not the mind is not possible because you became the mind is disturbed. No? And the other teaching is I'm something other than the mind. These teachings can only be assimilated when the mind is relatively quiet. Therefore, the importance of meditation. Very rarely, only Kama Yoga prepares the mind. So I'm coming to the conclusion that after Kama Yoga, one must go through some Vipassana to further control or master the mind. So otherwise, the person is identified as the mind, and then the teachings are not going to be assimilated. These teachings can only be assimilated when the mind is relatively purified and therefore quiet and contemplative. So the goal of Vedanta, as we know, is not to develop a contemplated, quiet, silent mind. This is a goal, yes, but it's an intermediary goal. And then we need to do that knowing that a quiet mind is not an end, but it's a means, because I need to have a quiet mind to assimilate and internalize this self-knowledge. That's the point. When the mind is highly disturbed, the mind cannot detach from the mind itself because it's all happening in the mind. I was saying yesterday, it's the mind who wants to walk away from the pursuit of self-knowledge, and then but the mind itself does not want to give up. It's all, the mind is self-reflective. It's not that there are many minds, they produce different thoughts and ideas and notions. Oh, I give up. I will never give up, The mind is not giving up because the mind wants to be free, because freedom is the nature of the mind, because the mind is consciousness, as we know. When the body is health, I become one with the mind, just like the physical body. I am the physical body. When the body is hurting big time, a friend of mine will say, oh, you say that you are the body, but I have to go to the doctor and it's going to hurt like hell. So how is this knowledge of yours going to help me now that I go to the dentist? When the body is healthy and you do not have any toothache and so on, you can detach from the body and listen to the teachings. Therefore, take care of the body, because if the body is hurting, you cannot really do the spiritual work. And if the mind is hurting as well, you cannot do the spiritual work. So you need to take care of the body-mind, because that is the instrument by which we can get self-knowledge. Mind can be seen as an Atma only when the mind is reasonably quiet. So you can see the mind as something other than yourself. You can see the mind as a superimposition in consciousness only when the mind is reasonably calm. Otherwise, when the mind is a bit disturbed, you're going to say that I am the mind and I am disturbed. No. I am disturbed. I am hurting. I am depressed. I am sad. I am happy. Now, all those states. When we are happy, we fall for this trick of mind as well. But when we are in pain, and then we even fall, the drop is clear. I fell for this cosmic ignorance that I am disturbed because I am the body mind. The second one is that I can never assimilate the teaching that the mind is mithya. No, that's the first. He said before that there were two things that are impossible if the mind is not contemplative. The first one is the same thing. I'm not the mind. The mind is something other than myself. And then the other one is even more profound. The second one is that I will not be able to assimilate the teaching that the mind is mithya. The mind is disturbed. I should say, okay, but the mind belongs to mithya, and I am satya. Okay, so the mind is disturbed, but does not disturb me as satya. I should see that the mind is anathema. This is a mithya mind. And if I have that perspective, the disturbance will be largely neutralized, and the mind becomes free from disturbance. It's a very intriguing thing. What makes the mind to produce more and more disturbance? The mind is disturbed, and then my identification with the mind is going to produce more and more disturbance, because I'm totally identified and I'm trying to find a solution for a problem. We see the problem, and then when I just step, as quote unquote, in satya, as consciousness, and then I see the mind objectively, and then the mind calms down, because I'm no longer giving attention to the mind. How so? By identifying as the mind, myself as the mind. If my parabada is such that desire is the problem, I have to devote some separate time to practice samadhi nididhyasana and learn calm down the mind a little bit more. That we don't need to produce a perfect mind. People who get caught up in the idea of 100% perfection or purification, usually get stuck as well. The abhyasa is what Gaudapada is discussing, that Abhyasa, that the effort, that practice is what Gaudapada is discussing. There are 4 obstacles to this nididhyasana. On dozing off, to distraction due to the wandering nature of the mind, taking care of by remember that the world objects, dozing off the mind, you take care by an appropriate method. Distraction due to external objects, you remember that the world of objects, source of sorrow, or by the knowledge that the world is Mithya and I am Satya. So the third one, the mind going to stagnation due to subconscious. Again, he's talking about that substantial, powerful raga diversion, which was buried, unresolved, which are the foundation of my conscious emotions. Taken care of by having the Sakshi Bhava of the mind that will allow the problem to surface. So how are you going to take care of that? By having the Sakshi Bhava of the mind that will allow the problem to surface. I read it the other day, but I did not research about this Sakshi Bhava, is to invoke the mind to, the energy of the mind to bring things to the surface or something on those lines. Did you consult to see the literal meaning of this expression, Sakshi Bhava?
Well, doesn't Sakshi just mean witnessing? And so it's a state of just an awareness of the mind of what's going without detached awareness.
Yeah, Sakshi. No, it's not Shakti, it's Sakshi, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
witnessing Bhava. And do you know the meaning of Bhava?
I think it's like a state of being or something. Am I right about that? I think so.
Okay. So we have to have a objective view from consciousness, seeing the mind as something other than ourselves. If we are totally identified, we are going to try to protect the mind by suppressing even more whatsoever is buried, So we need to stand as a witnessing consciousness, not identified with the mind, look at the mind objectively, and then only then we will help the mind to surface its energies, Before talking about the fourth obstacle, which is excess of Sattvaguna, Gaudapada makes an observation. If the mind has been withdrawn from all these obstacles, the mind becomes calm and quiet and available for the Nididhyasana Vedantic Nididhyasana. When the mind reaches that quiet state, make sure that the 3 obstacles do not come back again. And so maintaining that equanimity is important, very important. So when I was young and stupid, unwise, young and unwise is better. Every time I used to meditate in the ashram and then my mind was quiet, immediately I want to go and have fun because I was feeling good about myself. And I want to show up to the party that people can see how centered, how quiet, how beautiful I am. So when the mind reaches that state, just stay there for as long as you can. Don't steer again the mind. Don't go to the pub or find something to do that does not need to be done. Maintain that state for as long as your karma allows. Verse 45, one should not enjoy the happiness at that time when the mind is extremely sattvic. One should remain detached from that happiness. This is something very hard to be asked. So Gaudapada says very, very straightforward, radically. You should not get identified with the joy or the happiness of that state. because that happiness is going to be the most subtle obstacle for your self-knowledge and the assimilation of self-knowledge. He say, do not enjoy. What he means that, why not to enjoy? Yeah, enjoy, but after some time, you get bored with that joy. And I talk by direct experience, such as Lynn. So you enjoy in the beginning because you cannot help, but then after some time you see that that does not really solve the problem. And then you just re-examine the value you are giving to that mental state. One should not get attached to that happiness. And you need great viveka. So important, discrimination, to understand what is real and what's not real. And human consciousness is not real. Human consciousness is a state, mental state. And it is an Atma. It is something other than myself, the conscious witnessing entity, let's say, doing the meditation. So I should never allow myself to be attached to the Ananda. And I need great understanding, discrimination. By proper effort, one should unite the tranquil mind with the self. Every time it tries to go out, bring the mind back to the self. That was one of the pointers of Ramana. Just bring the mind, brings it back. And, to its source. They used to put in terms of source. So the mind is an appearance in consciousness. Bring it back to its source. How so? Just by remember that the mind, in truth, is consciousness, and you are not those thoughts appearing within consciousness. So you remember the teachings with some effort, and keep the mind in consciousness as conscious. There is no question of unite, because unite is a word of the yoga, Yoga means connecting or uniting or going back. There is no traveling, there is no connection, really. Just by proper remembrance of the teachings, you just keep the mind in consciousness as consciousness. Keep the Atma, detached from those mental notions and feelings. And if the mind wants to wander, so just remember, hey, mind, you have wandered long enough and you never have really found the happiness you were searching for. So listen to me this time. So stay in consciousness as consciousness. When the mind has conquered the obstacles called Tama, and that calls dozing, and the obstacle called Raja Guna, which expressed in the form of wandering mind, Sattva Guna becomes predominant. Why? Because you have converted a lot of that Raja Guna, which originally was there in the form of Tama Guna, and now you have a good predominance of Sattva Guna. And Sattva Guna expresses itself as alertness, peace, quietude, calmness, equanimity, which is balance, emotional balance. So all those clarities, aspects of the mind, and those are features of a sattvic mind. And we want a sattvic mind, but not for the sake of enjoying what? The Ananda, okay, the joy, the peace. So you're not doing that just for the sake of experiencing that state, even though you cannot help but experience, but you experience it without falling for it, You just say, okay, it feels good, it feels nice, but what I want is to do my Nididhyasana, and I need to have a calm and contemplative mind to do that. When the mind is sattvic, it's pure and clear, alert. It's just like a wonderful mirror or surface which was so properly polished. What happens? The ananda, which is inherent to my true nature, reflects on that reflecting medium. Therefore, we enjoy what? We enjoy the ananda, maya, kosha. No? We enjoy something which is inherent to my true nature in consciousness as consciousness, and it reflects or shines in my human intellect because my human intellect is under the dominance of sattva guna, and then it leaks or it reflects, or sometimes I put it's the perfume of limitlessness and peace, which is inherent to my true nature. It somehow, it leaks into my inferior nature, and then it feels good. It feels good. It's not coming from the mind, that feeling of, ananda. Yeah, it comes from my true nature. The feeling is an Atma, but it's an indication that you have tapped into your true nature. At least experientially, you are having an experience of a reflection. The ananda and the sat and the chit aspect of yourself is being reflected in your mind, and that is a wonderful indication that you have a proper mind, but we should never stop there. Most yogis stop there. So this ananda experience in deep meditation is just a reflect that occurs in the sattvic mind, which is called priya, moda, and pramoda vrittis. So depending on the degree or the extent of domination of sattva operating in the subtle body. If your mind is a little bit sattvic, you start getting what? A priya, ananda, a sensation of, now the mind is more quiet, I feel more peaceful. And then the mind develops more sattva, and you say, oh my God, it's getting better, now it's moda, modananda. And then when the mind is really, and then you're going to, what is the relevance of pointing this priya, moda, and pramoda? The experience you have is something that changes according to the proportion of sattva guna operating in your subtle body, on your mind, okay? And that it's an indication that it's not you, because you never change. You are the witnessing of all change. So, but it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen as impermanence and a changing process. This experiential bliss is just a reflection. It comes in meditation. It's, I would say, enjoy it, but don't overvalue this. Gaudapada advised that one should not get attached to the ananda coming from deep meditation, because it's not one's original true nature. It's a reflection, and how you have, because it's present now and disappears, and it's changing from moment to moment. Priya, moda, pramoda. There's a beginning and the middle, and changing from moment to moment. Is like any other object of mithya. There's a beginning and end, and it's changing from moment to moment. So this is anatma. This is the nature of anatma. Such a state, such a reflection is another experience of the anatma. And okay, and then now that I know that this is not the real deal, Jesus is not the original Satchitananda, I want the Ananda as well. Yes, you want the Ananda. Okay, so I know that I'm Sat, I'm Chit, I'm consciousness, the ground of existence of the entire cosmos. And I want to experience Ananda as well. Okay, and then do this meditation, and you're gonna get a reflection of it. Okay, so but no, I don't want to experience the reflection. I have experienced the reflection long ago. Now I want to experience the true Ananda, which is the nature of my very conscious existence, limitless. I want to experience this Ananda directly. The original Ananda can never be experienced because that belongs to Satya. In Mithya, you can experience things from the most subtle to the most dense, but in Mithya, you cannot experience something in Satya because it's altogether another order of reality, but it's the real reality. And once you are in the apparent reality, you can only experience other appearance as well. The original Nanda is never available for being experienced. The original Nanda is available to be claimed. How many times we heard our swamis, our good teachers, and say it's only available to be claimed. And then people say, oh, so what is the big deal? I mean, claimed. Anybody can claim it. So if you really claim it with full conviction, and then it does something to the overall state of the mind, it develops a more consistent proportion of sattva guna, which allows us to navigate in this world with better balance and better wisdom, better viveka, better vairagya. So it's going to allow the self-knowledge to stay sticking to you, So, and then you're gonna be a much happier person, depending on your character, because there are some people that may get self-knowledge but has a negative personality that sometimes it's hard to change. I don't know if you guys met UG Krishnamurti. He was a very tough case. So the original Nanda can be only claimed, and once we claim my nature as the original Ananda, and then I become a much happier person, and my desire for the reflection of Ananda in my deep meditation is going to fade gradually, unless I have a huge vasana. But you're going to be just enjoy life as it is without having to tap into that state of samadhi to enjoy yourself. That's my take. But as I said, some people may have a taste for this samadhi, because the Yanish samadhi, Vedantic samadhi, is what we call sahaja samadhi. It's a natural samadhi while living and navigating in this Mithya world. Okay, so we stop here. We're gonna, isn't it lovely, this chapter 3? I'm sure you agree with me. Anything else?
No, I just second your appreciation of this chapter. Love it.
Yeah. Very good. We meet again in 2 days with the Gita, day of tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste.
Thank you, Arlindo.
Thank
Lovely
you.
meeting.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, lovely set. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Ma.
Goodbye now.
Thank you, Sylvia.